Kakadosh Boker Tov, we're just continuing with the halachot. We were speaking about yesterday that what happens if a person gets stuck, that he's got his car and it's already becoming Shabbat. Now he doesn't know what to do exactly. It's not that he's inside the city, he's traveling. So therefore we brought down that if he has a goy with him, so therefore we could be mekel, that the goy will come and the goy will start driving the car and he's going to be inside the car even though it's going to become after the Shekiyah. What happens though if the goy does not actually live in the vicinity of the Jew? Which means that he has a goy, but he doesn't actually live there. So what's going to happen in such a scenario? So here the Alachabra brings down as follows. He says, if right now the goy does not live there, but the goy has the car, that means he has the goy, so now the goy is going to start driving. So the goy starts driving. What would happen is that the Jew would have to get off at the first place where it's going to become safe. Now, if it's going to be Shatadacha Gadol, which means that there's no place where to do, there's not Shomer Torah Mitzvot, he can't actually even do, whether it's going to be Kiddush, he can't do the Seudot, he cannot do nothing whatsoever, so therefore he would be able to hint to the Goy, and the Goy will be able to continue, right, until he gets to his house. Now here, the Lachabra is actually bringing down that here you could be lenient, that it's not only going to be that if you have the Goy with you, and he's going to take your car and he's going to travel, even in a scenario where it would be where you do not have a goy whatsoever, and now you have to get a goy, whether it's going to be an Uber or a taxi. So then in such a scenario, he says if it's going to be Shat Dacha Gadol, he says it's going to be permitted to have that the Jew will come and be traveling with this goy, even though it's going to be after the Shabbat, which means even though Shabbat comes in and it's going to be after Shekiyah, you could be lenient. Until when is going to be? So he says it's going to be during the entire time of Ben Hashmashot. So therefore, during the entire time of Ben Hashmashot, which is going to be right after the Shekiyah until nightfall, here he wants to even be lenient like Rabbeinu Tam. And he says that even though usually we do not use Rabbeinu Tam as a sleeve, right? But here in this case, since it's going to be a bitul of many mitzvot to right of the Rabbanan of Shabbat, so therefore in such a scenario, or for example, a person has little children, and they cannot just come and stay in nowhere, right, in the middle of nowhere without being anywhere on Shabbat. So therefore, in such a scenario, he would be able to actually come and get before the Shabbat. Again, remember, here we're talking about he didn't actually really do a melacha, because it's before Shabbat he comes and he's getting this taxi or getting this Uber. Now, he's inside the car before the Shabbat. Now, the only isur is that he's inside the car when it's traveling on Shabbat. So in such a scenario, he says in Shad Dacha Gadol, if a person mamash, obviously we're not talking about the lechatchila, you're allowed to do this, and not even b'diavad. It's talking about that a person was extending the circumstances, there was a force majeure, something happened, he wasn't able to do anything, and now he's got stuck. He got stuck. So now what's he supposed to do? So in such a scenario, right, a person does have the seter, right, he does bring here a whole bunch of different snifim lakel, that in such a scenario a person would be able to be lenient until it's going to be during the entire time of Ben Hashmashot. So this is just very, very important to know, because again, these are different halachot of that a person got stuck on the path, what's he allowed to do and what's he not allowed to do. So again, on the Shabbat itself, for sure he's not allowed to do anything, because he's a Jew, he cannot start being Mechalel Shabbat, unless Chas Shalom, it's dangerous. But to do with this, the fact that he's doing everything before Shabbat, and now it's just on the Shabbat that the car is just continuing, and it's going and taking him there, right? In this case, it's always better even the Uber, because the Uber, it's already paid for beforehand. He doesn't even have to do anything. So the Uber is already done, and then he's just going home. In such a scenario, that would be the best case, that again, if he cannot stop and he cannot be anywhere in the vicinity, and he has to be home, so therefore he has a seter in order of getting home.